Hello! So, this is our oh so lovely UML, and I'm here to go about describing some of the design patterns we use, some of the implementation decisions we went about, and generally explain how we went to do some of the approaching of the project, how we simplified it for ourselves, and really went about making it the most efficient, professional piece of code that we could with the time we were given. Um, Now, of course, there were things we used as an inheritance, using superclasses and subclasses, parent classes and child classes, to make our implementation decisions easier, as one should approach with an object-oriented language to make things like, for example, as we used it, profiled our profiles. Well, they have similar traits. An individual who was, say, applying for an internship and an individual who was posting an internship would need different sets of to give different sets of information, would need different sets of information, would need different application than one would from each other, but also need some similar pieces of application, and they all are a subset of a profile. So we used things like inheritance across the board in making our lives a bit easier and making the code clear and direct, allowing simplification of all of it. Now, the design patterns we used and approach, the two main ones that helped us the most, that we applied most boldly, would be that of the facade and that of the singleton. Now, the facade was utilized for us to display to allow a bit of a border in between the actual user and their UI, how they're interacting with our code, and the database, the objects, well, all of it is complex, but the information storage, the part in which they shouldn't be interacting, they shouldn't be messing. So we use the facade, and we also use the facade as basically a router, a communicator. The individual interacted with the UI, and the UI interacted with the facade, and the facade drew whatever was needed of information, or put whatever information was needed where it should be, in the correct places to put a wall between the user and our complex code, our databases, our information. Now, the singleton has to do with the databases. It truly helped us in, well, the singleton itself was applied to our databases to allow us to not create duplicates of the database. There was only one existing database at any point in time of a particular database, like our profile database or our internship database. It allows for the avoidance of duplications, causing more storage to be taken up, and very concerningly, have two sets of information that shouldn't exist, that would add complexities, because we now have information, a duplicate of what we should have one set of information, and when one set is edited, as it should be by, say, an employer, the other set is not. If that occurs, we have two sets of information, one being incorrect, or very possibly both being incorrect. So keeping it as one allows us to both avoid creating more, which we shouldn't in the first place, to save space, and also to correctly implement our code, to not create incorrect information, to store the data properly.
All right, so I know that Ava just explained some of the higher level concepts to do with the way that our code is structured. Um, I just wanted to show some more specific examples of how that actually looks in the code. So starting with the facade, she explained that the facade is essentially a layer of abstraction between the user interface and the rest of the functionality in the code. So as you can see, the facade has the different account types as well as the databases as its instance variables. And a great example showing how the facade functions is this loading employers to business method, which essentially just takes the employers from the profile database and loads it into the list of employees associated with the business. And then looking at the different databases, this is the example of the singleton design pattern. So essentially, the singleton, like Ava explained, it's just there to make sure that there's only one instance of the specific class. So this get instance method within the database, essentially the new database will only be created if there isn't already one. If there is, the existing database will be returned. And then I also just wanted to basically walk through the way that information flows in the order that the user interacts with the program. So when the user first interacts with the program, before they log in or before they create an account, the account type will not have been differentiated yet, and the generic user interface class handles this. Once the account type is determined, either by login or by creating an account, the user interface class will pass off to one of the more specific user interfaces, like, for example, the employer user interface. And in here, the way we have our user interfaces set up is there's just different run methods for the different situations that are occurring. And within these run methods, there are switch statements for each of the different things that the account type can do.
Hello, so this is PathFinder, our internship finder search program. First thing you're going to be greeted with is the main menu. You can either log in, create an account, or quit. You're going to be logging in, so you just type in the number corresponding to the action you wish to perform, and then enter the account type. We're a student, so we're doing that. Now we're entering the email corresponding to that account and the password. And then here's our dashboard with all the options that we can do within a student-specific options. We want to make a resume, so we're going to make the resume. We're in section 1, prior experience. We want to add a prior experience. Now we're just filling out the fields as prompted. Employer. Right, and now the next thing, again, it will ask you, we've completed prior experience, but we want to add another one. So we're going through again. All right, now we want to continue on. There's no related courses to add, so we're continuing. Now we want to add useful skills. So separate, enter them, separated by comma, enter. And the resume text file has successfully been made. You can just go ahead and log out. And then pull this down and open up that text file. And there you go, there's your resume.
Scenario 3. We're going to log in as a student, search for an internship, and then apply to that internship. So first we're going to log in, pressing 2 to log in as a student, and we're going to log in with the student's credentials. Then we are greeted with the student's dashboard, where we can press 1 to search for all internships. We're going to search for internships that contain JavaScript. Now this search algorithm is a universal search, so it shall look through all the fields of an internship object, not just the qualifications or description. Pressing enter, we get our results. So we ultimately decided that we would like to apply to internship number 1, the software development intern at Google. So we go down here where we are prompted to apply for an internship, which we press 1 to say yes to. And then we're going to specify internship number 1 to apply to that one. As you can see, we have successfully applied to the internship at Google. So now we can log out. Scenario 4. We are now going to log in as the employer of the company whose internship our student in Scenario 3 just applied for. So first we're going to log in, selecting 3 for an employer account, and then using the employer's credentials to log in. And now we would like to see who has applied to our internships. So for that, we're going to press 1 to view and edit internships. And as you can see, our employer has access to 2 internships from their company. As you can see, internship number 2 was the one that our student in Scenario 3 just applied to, and we have 3 applicants for that. As we'd like to take a closer look at who these 3 applicants are, we're going to hit 3 to view applicants. As you can see, the last applicant to this internship was the student from Scenario 3, and if we scroll up, we can see the previous 2 applicants to this internship as well. With all that being said, we can now log off.